Most men over the age of 60 have been fed a lie. You've been told that this is the season of slowing down. You've been told that your body is a fragile machine, and that lifting anything heavier than a grocery bag is a recipe for disaster. Society expects you to trade the barbell for a walking stick and the gym floor for a recliner, but look around. Why is it that 95% of men your age are losing their physical authority, while a small, elite 5% are actually getting stronger, leaner, and more capable than they were in their 40s? It's not just good genetics. They know something you don't. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the 10 muscle secrets that 95% of men never learn. These aren't just tips, they are the biological keys to reclaiming your prime. The psychological barrier before we hit the iron. We have to fix the engine in your mind. The biggest obstacle to building muscle after 60 isn't low testosterone or creaky joints. It's the fragility myth. When you believe you are fragile, you train fragile. You pick up the pink 5-pound dumbbells, you stay in your comfort zone, and your body responds by staying exactly where it is, or worse, continuing to wither. Muscle is expensive tissue for the body to maintain. If you don't give your brain an undeniable reason to keep it, your biology will harvest that muscle for energy. To build a physique that commands respect at 65, you must first decide that you are still an athlete. The intensity threshold, satellite cell activation. This brings us to the first and most critical secret, the intensity threshold. 95% of men believe that movement is the same as training. It isn't. As you age, your muscles become anabolically resistant. This means the signal required to trigger muscle growth needs to be louder than it was when you were 20. When you lift light weights for high reps, you might get a pump. But you aren't talking to your DNA. To build real mass after 60, you must activate your satellite cells. These are the stem cells of your muscles. They sit dormant until they are triggered by significant mechanical tension. This means you need to lift weights that are heavy enough to make the last 2 reps of a set feel almost impossible. Most men stop when it starts to burn. The elite 5% know that the burn is just the invitation. The growth happens in the struggle that follows. If you aren't challenging your nervous system with 70% to 80% of your maximum capacity, those satellite cells stay asleep. You don't need to live in the gym, but when you are there, the intensity must be high enough to prove to your body that survival depends on being stronger. This is the loud signal. Without it, every supplement and protein shake in the world is just expensive habit. We have established the mindset shift and the necessity of high-intensity mechanical tension. We talked about the loud signal of heavy lifting. But even the loudest signal won't build a single gram of muscle if the building blocks aren't available. This brings us to a physiological hurdle that 95% of men face without even knowing it. Anabolic resistance. When you were 25, your body was hyper, sensitive to protein. You could eat a burger, hit a few sets of bench press, and grow. But after 60, the doors to your muscle cells, the receptors that take in amino acids, become stiff and stubborn. Most men try to fix this by simply eating more healthy. They have a salad for lunch and a small piece of chicken for dinner. This is a mistake. To overcome anabolic resistance, you don't just need protein, you need a protein spike. You must consume enough protein in a single sitting to trigger muscle protein synthesis, or MPS. For a man over 60, that threshold is usually between 35 and 50 grams of high-quality protein per meal. If you only eat 15 or 20 grams, you never flip the switch. You are essentially eating for maintenance, not for growth. The leucine trigger, the secret weapon within your protein, is an amino acid called leucine. Think of leucine as the foreman on a construction site. Even if you have all the bricks and mortar, nothing happens until the foreman shows up and tells everyone to start working. Research shows that older trainees need about 3 to 4 grams of leucine per meal to initiate the muscle building process. This is why plant-based proteins or low-quality snacks often fail men in this age group. They lack the leucine density. To get that elite 5% look, you need to prioritize leucine, rich sources like grass, fed beef, whey isolate, or eggs. If you aren't hitting that leucine threshold, your body will simply burn that protein for fuel instead of using it to repair your biceps. The myth of the 30-minute window. For decades, the fitness industry told us we had to chug a protein shake within 30 minutes of working out, or the workout was wasted. This led to 95% of men rushing through their cool down, stressed and reaching for a shaker bottle. Here is the secret the elite performers know. For the older lifter, the anabolic window is actually wider but more sensitive. Your body's sensitivity to protein stays elevated for up to 24 to 48 hours after a heavy lifting session. However, because your baseline MPS is lower, the timing of your protein throughout the entire day matters more than the 30 minutes post-gym. Instead of obsessing over that one shake, you should be obsessing over protein boluses, spreading your intake into 3 or 4 large, distinct doses. This keeps the muscle building signal on throughout the day. If you graze on small amounts of protein all day, you never reach the threshold, and your muscles stay in a state of breakdown. Stop grazing, start fueling with intention. We've covered how to bypass anabolic resistance using the leucine trigger and the reality of protein timing. 95% of men think hydration is just about not being thirsty or keeping the kidneys happy. But for a man over 60, water is a mechanical tool for strength. As we age, our cells lose their ability to retain water, a process called cellular shrinkage. When your muscle cells are dehydrated, even by as little as 2%, your strength can drop by over 10%. But here is the secret: it's not just about drinking water, it's about intracellular pressure. To build muscle, the cell needs to be volumized. Think of a muscle cell like a balloon. When it's full of fluid, it creates a stretch on the cell membrane. This physical stretch sends a signal to your DNA to increase protein synthesis. This is why the elite 5% prioritize electrolytes, specifically sodium, potassium, and magnesium, before they ever step foot in the gym. Without these minerals, the water you drink just passes through you. If you want to lift heavy and actually grow, you must hydrate for the pump. Long before you start your first set. The recovery paradox, active vs. passive rest. This is where 95% of men get it completely wrong. They think that because they are 60 plus, they need more days off, where they sit on the couch to let the joints heal. This is the recovery paradox. In your 20s, your circulation was like a rushing river. You could recover while lying still. After 60, your circulation is more like a slow-moving stream. If you spend your rest day being sedentary, your internal waste management system, the lymphatic system, stagnates. Metabolic byproducts from your workout stay trapped in your muscle tissue, leading to stiffness and chronic inflammation. The secret of the elite 5% is active recovery. On your off days, you don't sit. You walk, you stretch, or you do light mobility work. You keep the blood moving. Blood carries the nutrients and the oxygen required to repair the micro-tears you created in the gym. If you want to recover faster, you have to move more, not less. The greasing the groove principle. Most men think they need to go to the gym and destroy. themselves for 2 hours to see results. But for the older lifter, central nervous system, CNS fatigue is a real threat. If you fry your nervous system, your strength will plateau for weeks. The secret is a concept called greasing the groove. Instead of one massive, exhausting session that leaves you limping, the most successful men over 60 often focus on frequency and technical mastery. They treat lifting like a skill, like playing the piano or swinging a golf club. By performing high-quality, heavy movements more frequently but without going to total failure on every set, you teach your brain to recruit more muscle fibers. You get the benefits of the loud signal we talked about in Part 1 without the deep exhaustion that leads to injury. Strength is a neurological skill. The more often you practice it with perfect form, the faster the muscle follows. 95% of men focus entirely on what they do in the gym, but muscle isn't built in gym, it's built in bed. For the man over 60, sleep is not just rest, it is your primary window for hormonal optimization. As we age, our natural production of growth hormone GH and testosterone declines, but it doesn't disappear. The majority of your daily GH pulse occurs during deep sleep stage 3. The secret the elite 5% protect at all costs is sleep architecture. If you are waking up 3 times a night or surviving on 6 hours of restless sleep, you are effectively cutting off your body's supply of repair serum. To fix this, you must optimize your circadian rhythm. This means getting sunlight in your eyes within 30 minutes of waking up to set your internal clock, and keeping your bedroom as cold as a cave at night. When your body temperature drops, it signals the brain to enter those deep anabolic stages of sleep. If you aren't sleeping for growth, you are training for nothing. The integration rule, compound over isolation. Most men over 60 are steered toward the weight machines, the seated chest press, the leg extension, the bicep curl machine. The logic is that machines are safer, but here is the secret that changes everything. Machines lead to functional fragility. Machines isolate muscles, but in the real world, your body works as a single integrated unit. The elite 5% focus on compound movements, the squat, the deadlift, the overhead press, and the row. These exercises require stabilizer muscles to fire and your core to remain braced. This creates a massive neurological demand that forces your body to stay young. When you squat with a barbell, you aren't just working your legs. You are telling your entire nervous system that it needs to be strong enough to support a load. This systemic stress triggers a much larger hormonal response than a leg extension ever could. If you want to move like you're 40, you have to stop training your muscles in silos and start training them as an integrated system. The time under tension and mastery, 95% of men in the gym are using momentum. They swing the weights, they use gravity on the way down, and they count reps. But your muscles don't count reps. They feel time under tension tut. The final secret to building dense, high-quality muscle after 60 is mastering the eccentric, or the lowering phase of the lift. Research shows that the majority of muscle fiber damage which leads to growth happens when the muscle is lengthening under load. Instead of just dropping the weight, the elite trainee lowers it slowly, perhaps for a 3 to 4 second count. This increases the total work the muscle has to do without needing to add more dangerous, heavy weight. It protects the joints while maximizing the growth signal. By slowing down the movement, you turn a standard set into a high-intensity growth event that forces your physiology to adapt. 95% of men just move the weight from point A to point B. They use their joints, their momentum, and their ego. But the elite 5% know the secret of neuromuscular efficiency. As we age, the communication between our brain and our muscle fibers can degrade. To build a physique at 60, you must rebuild this bridge. Instead of focusing on the weight on the bar, focus on the contraction of the muscle. This is the mind-muscle connection. When you perform a row, don't just pull with your hands. Visualize your latissimus dorsi stretching and then crushing together. Scientific studies show that internal cueing, thinking about the muscle working, actually increases muscle fiber recruitment. By mastering this, you can get a better workout with 50 pounds than a man half your age gets with 100 pounds of sloppy reps. Strength isn't just in the muscle, it's in the nervous system's ability to command that muscle. The consistency trap vs. The adaptability rule, the final secret, isn't a workout move or a supplement, it's a strategy. 95% of men fall into the consistency trap. They do the exact same workout with the same weights for years. They think they are staying fit, but they are actually stagnating. Your body is a survival machine. It only changes when it is forced to adapt to a new challenge. The elite 5% follow the rule of progressive overload, but with a senior twist. You don't always have to add more weight that can lead to injury. You can add density by shortening your rest periods. You can add volume by adding one extra set, or you can add quality by improving your form. The secret is to never let your body feel comfortable. If your workout feels easy, you aren't training, you're just exercising. To build a body that defies your birth certificate, you must consistently demand more of yourself than you did the week before. The call to action: join the elite 5%. Look, the secrets we've discussed today, from satellite cell activation to the Leucine Trigger, are the blueprint. But a blueprint is useless if you never break ground. Most men will watch this video, find it interesting, and go right back to their old, comfortable routines. They will continue to be part of the 95% who accept decline as an inevitability. But you are here because you want more. You want to be the man who walks into a room at 65 and commands the same respect as a man of 30. You want the energy to play with your grandkids, the strength to lead your family, and the physique that proves you haven't given up. It starts today. Pick one of these secrets. Maybe it's increasing your protein per meal or slowing down your eccentric reps, and implement it in your next session. If you found value in these secrets, hit the like button and subscribe to join this community of men who are redefining what it means to age. We aren't just staying active, we are building a legacy of strength. I'll see you in the gym.